I bought a house without telling my parents. Then at dinner Mom said, "We found the perfect house for you. Besides, your brother's family will live there too." I told them the truth. A month later they secretly moved in with me. Well, let's go. My name is Celine Marlowe, and I'm 30 years old. I work as a software developer in Vermont. I have an older brother, Dorian. He's 32. Since the day I was born, Dorian was the golden child, the favorite, the one who could do no wrong. Let me give you some examples. Growing up, Dorian's birthday parties were events. I'm talking professional animators, catered food, decorations everywhere. Kids from his entire class would show up, and my parents would spend hundreds of dollars making sure he had the best day of his life. Every single year, my birthdays, I got a day-old cake from the grocery store and pizza from the local diner. No party, no friends, just us sitting around the kitchen table while my parents talked about how expensive things were. Christmas was the same story. Dorian would wake up to find video game consoles under the tree, new bicycles, the latest electronics. One year, he got a gaming setup that probably cost more than $1,250. What did I get? School supplies. Notebooks, pens, folders, clothes from bargain stores with the tags still on. The kind where everything was under $12. My parents would say things like, "You needed these anyway, and we want you to focus on your education." I told myself it didn't matter, that I was being childish for caring about presents. But it wasn't about the presents. It was about what they represented. Then came college. Dorian applied to Crestwood University, a big school with expensive tuition out of state. My parents paid for everything: tuition, room and board, fraternity fees, books, spending money. He lived on campus, had a car, never worried about a single bill. When I enrolled at Northvale University 2 years later, I decided to live at home to save money. Figured it made sense. Why pay for a dorm when I could just stay in my old room? My parents had other ideas. "You're 18 now," my mother said. "You're an adult. We're teaching you independence." They charged me $620 a month. Rent and utilities. They called it for my childhood bedroom. I got a job at a bookstore making $9.20 an hour. It wasn't enough, so I picked up extra shifts at a coffee shop near our house. I bought used textbooks, old editions that were sometimes missing pages. I ate peanut butter sandwiches for lunch and dinner because they were cheap. Every month I handed my parents that $620. Every month I watched them spend money on care packages for Dorian. He'd call home complaining that the cafeteria food wasn't good enough, and they'd send him boxes of his favorite snacks and gift cards worth $130 monthly. I said nothing. I just worked harder. After graduation, I started my career as a developer. Entry-level position, low salary, but it was a start. I worked overtime constantly, learning everything I could, trying to move up. I rented a tiny studio apartment and ate instant noodles most nights because that's what I could afford. Dorian graduated 2 years before me with a degree in communications. He moved back home with our parents. For 3 years, he lived there rent-free, playing video games and talking about his entrepreneurial projects. Big ideas that never went anywhere. Our parents supported him completely, never asking for a dime. When he finally got a job at a marketing firm, my parents threw a celebration at an expensive restaurant. Steaks, wine, the whole thing. They toasted to his success and talked about how proud they were. 2 years later, I got promoted to senior developer. 2 years of working my ass off, proving myself, taking on projects no one else wanted. It was a big deal, a huge step in my career. My parents took me to an inexpensive restaurant, the kind with plastic menus and sticky tables. And the entire dinner they talked about Dorian, his job, his girlfriend, his future plans. When I tried to mention my promotion, my mother nodded and said, "That's nice, honey. Did I tell you Dorian might be getting a raise soon?" I stopped talking and just ate my food. Dorian married Ilara. She was pretty, charming, and had never held a job for more than 6 months. My parents loved her. They paid for the wedding venue, catering, flowers, her dress, thousands of dollars. Then they helped Dorian and Ilara buy an apartment. Not all of it, but a significant chunk of the down payment. They co-signed the mortgage, Made sure they got approved for a loan they probably shouldn't have qualified for. I'd been saving for years by then. Living cheap, investing what I could, building my credit. I had a decent down payment saved up, but no one offered to help me. I never asked either because I already knew the answer. Dorian and Elara had 3 kids in quick succession. Everett came first, he's 5 now. Then Marcy, who's 3, and finally Lyndon, just a year old. My parents transformed into the world's most devoted grandparents. They bought toys constantly, the expensive kind I never got as a kid. They opened savings accounts for each child's education. They babysat all the time, always offering, always available. I started skipping family events. Dinners, holidays, gatherings. Hurt too much to watch. Every event was the same. My parents fawning over Dorian and his family while I sat in the corner, ignored. I'd been saving money for years with one goal in mind. Buying my own house. A place that was truly mine. I didn't tell my family about my plans. I knew exactly what would happen if I did. They'd say I didn't need a house because I lived alone. They'd say it was a waste of money for a single person. They'd suggest I spend the money on Dorian's family instead. Help them buy a bigger place since they had kids, and I didn't. I kept my mouth shut and kept saving. Then Joelle, a colleague at work, ruined everything. She was friends with Elara, which I'd forgotten about. We went out for drinks one night after a rough project. I'd had a few glasses of wine, and I was excited about finally having enough saved up. I mentioned that I was house hunting. The next week my mother called. Celine, Elara told me you're buying a house. We need to talk about this. You need at least 5 bedrooms, and it should be near Dorian's place so the children can visit you more often. You could babysit for them. My stomach dropped. I'm still looking, Mom. I'll let you know when I find something. But it was too late. The damage was done. The next day, my mother and Elara started bombarding me with links. Houses with 5 or 6 bedrooms, huge properties with pools and guest apartments. Places that cost twice what I'd saved. Look at this one, Elara texted. Perfect for family gatherings. The kids would love the pool. My mother sent a listing in Maplebridge. This is only 5 minutes from Dorian's place. You could see the grandchildren every day. I ignored every message. Didn't respond. Didn't acknowledge anything. Instead, I found my own house. A Cape Cod-style 3-bedroom in West Haven. It was exactly what I wanted. Original wooden floors that creaked in all the right places. Wood trim on the exterior that gave it character. 2 cozy fireplaces, one in the living room, one in the master bedroom. And a balcony off the upstairs bedroom where I could sit and read. It was perfect for me, not for them. I made an offer, negotiated, and closed the deal. The house was mine. I decided to tell my family after everything was finalized. No room for them to interfere. Sunday dinner at my parents' house. I drove over knowing this would be the night. Everyone was there, Mom, Dad, Dorian, Elara, and the 3 kids running around making noise. Everett was chasing Marcy through the living room while Lyndon sat in his high chair banging a spoon. We sat down to eat, and my mother had this excited look on her face. Celine, we have wonderful news, she announced. We found the perfect house for you. I set down my fork. What? It's in Maplebridge. Only 5 minutes from Dorian and Elara. 5 bedrooms, a huge backyard for the children to play in, and a basement that Dorian could turn into a home office when he visits. Elara jumped in. It's perfect. We could stay with you most weekends and in the summer, maybe even longer. Our place is getting so cramped with 3 kids. Dorian nodded. The basement would be great. I've been needing a quiet space to work on some projects. I sat there listening to them plan out my life in a house I hadn't agreed to buy. They picked the location, the size, even what rooms would be used for, all without asking me. I already bought a house, I said. Silence. Complete silence. Even the kids stopped making noise for a second. My mother's face went pale. What? I bought a 3-bedroom house in West Haven. Closed on it last week. Dorian leaned forward. 3 bedrooms. That's it. Where are we supposed to stay when we visit? You won't be staying with me. It's my house for me. The explosion happened immediately. My father slammed his fist on the table so hard the plates rattled. You selfish, ungrateful girl. My mother started screaming. I raised you better than this. How could you do this to your family? Ilara burst into tears. Think of the children. They need space, and you're being so cruel. Dorian pointed at me. You're a fool and an egotist. We're your family. Family helps each other. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Family helps each other. When have any of you ever helped me? I've been on my own since I was 18. You charged me rent while Dorian lived here for free. You paid for his wedding while I ate instant noodles. Don't talk to me about family. I grabbed my jacket and walked out. Behind me, I could hear my mother wailing and my father shouting about how I'd lost my mind. The harassment started the next day. Ilara sent photos of the kids sleeping on bunk beds with captions like, "Our babies are so cramped," and 3 children in one tiny room. My mother left 20 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one. The voicemails were all the same. Accusations, guilt trips, crying. She said I was being unreasonable and destroying the family. Dorian texted constantly. Mom can't sleep because of you. She's sick with worry. Are you happy now? I didn't respond to any of it. Then they took it to social media. My mother posted about the importance of family loyalty. Ilara shared articles about selfish relatives who abandoned their families. They didn't mention me by name, but everyone knew. Relatives started calling. Aunts, uncles, cousins. People who didn't know the full story, who'd only heard my family's version. Celine, family is everything. You should be helping your brother. Your mother is heartbroken. How can you be so cold? Those children need you. You're their aunt. I stopped answering calls from anyone related to me. Then my Aunt Cambria showed up at my new house. She stood on my porch holding a Bible. Her face set in that self-righteous expression I knew so well. Celine, we need to talk about your behavior. The Bible says to honor your father and mother. Family loyalty is sacred. Cut her off. Did my parents tell you they charged me rent while Dorian lived at home for free for 3 years? Did they mention they paid for his entire college education while I worked 2 jobs? Did Ilara tell you she wants to use my house as a free hotel? That's not the point, Celine. Family. Please leave my property. Celine. I closed the door in her face. Through the window, I watched her stand there for a full minute before finally walking back to her car. The messages kept coming. More guilt, more accusations, more demands. Every day something new. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of messages, photos of call logs, notes about each contact. Something told me I might need it later. Few weeks passed. I thought maybe they'd give up, accept that I'd made my decision. I was wrong. They were just planning their next move. It was a Saturday morning. I was in my garden planting flowers I'd bought from the nursery. Marigolds, petunias, some herbs. The soil was warm, and I was finally starting to feel at peace in my new home. Then I heard the car. I looked up and saw Dorian's SUV pulling into my driveway. The doors opened, and out came Dorian, Ilara, and all 3 kids. They had bags with them, suitcases, backpacks, a cooler. Dorian walked toward me with a big smile. Hey sis, we're staying with you for the weekend. Ilara was already herding the kids toward the house. We're starving. You should make us breakfast. The kids like pancakes. The kids scattered across my yard. Everett and Marcy started running through the flower beds I'd just planted, their feet crushing the seedlings. Lyndon toddled after them, fell face first into a mud patch, and started screaming. Get your children under control, I said. And you need to leave. You can't just show up here uninvited. Dorian laughed. Come on, Celine. We're family. This is what family does. Ilara picked up Lyndon, who was now covered in mud and still screaming. You're being cruel. These are innocent children. How can you turn away your own niece and nephews? I looked past her toward the house. Through the window, I could see Everett and Marcy. They'd let themselves inside somehow, and they were jumping on my couch. Their shoes were muddy, their hands dirty. As I watched, Everett grabbed a vase from the side table and dropped it on the floor. Shattered. "That was my grandmother's vase," I said. Ilara didn't even look. "Kids break things. It's normal. Get out. All of you. Now." Dorian stepped closer. "You're really going to kick out 3 kids? What kind of person are you? The kind who demands respect for her property. Look at what they're doing to my house." Ilara started crying, fake tears. The kind she could turn on and off. "I can't believe you're treating us like this. We drove all this way. The kids were so excited to see their aunt. And you're just throwing us out. You invited yourselves. I didn't ask you to come." Dorian grabbed their bags. "Fine. We're leaving, but you're going to regret this, Celine. Family remembers these things." They loaded back into the SUV and drove away. I spent the next hour cleaning mud off my couch, vacuuming up broken glass, and replanting the flowers they destroyed. Few weeks later, my mother showed up. She was holding a blueberry pie, the kind she used to make when I was little. "Celine, can we talk?" I stood in the doorway, not moving. "I brought pie. Your favorite. I wanted to apologize. We were wrong to pressure you. This is your house. Your decision." She looked sincere. Tired but sincere. "Can I come in? Maybe see the house? You work so hard for this. I'd love to see what you've done with it." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She walked through each room, commenting on the floors, the fireplaces, the natural light. She seemed genuinely impressed. "You did good, Celine. This is a beautiful home." We had pie and coffee. She asked about my job, my life, normal things. No mention of Dorian or the kids. No guilt trips. Just a mother talking to her daughter. When she left, she hugged me. "I'm proud of you." I wanted to believe it. I really did. 5 days later, I went grocery shopping. Normal Saturday afternoon, nothing special. I was gone maybe 2 hours. When I pulled into my driveway, Dorian's SUV was there again. My stomach dropped. I walked to the front door. It was closed, but I could hear noise inside. Kids yelling, things being moved. Opened the door. Dorian and Ilara were in my living room. Suitcases open everywhere. Ilara was hanging clothes in my coat closet. The kids were running through the house like they owned it. "What the hell are you doing?" shouted. Dorian looked up casually. "Oh hey. We decided to move in while you were out. Figured it was easier this way." I looked at the door. No signs of forced entry. The lock was fine. "How do you have keys to my house?" Dorian smiled. "Mom made casts of your keys when she visited. We had copies made." My blood went cold. The visit, the apology, was all a setup. She'd come to get my keys, make impressions of them, and give them to Dorian. "Get out of my house. Right now." Ilara stopped hanging clothes. "Celine, be reasonable. We need space. Your house has 3 bedrooms. That's plenty for all of us. This is my house. I bought it with my money. You have no right to be here." Dorian crossed his arms. "Family shares. That's what family does." I pulled out my phone and called the police. "What are you doing?" Dorian asked. "Calling the cops. You broke into my home. We have keys. Keys you made without my permission from stolen impressions. That's still breaking and entering." Ilara started her fake crying again. "You're calling the police on children. How could you?" I ignored her. The dispatcher answered, and I explained the situation. Someone was in my home without permission, and I needed them removed. The police arrived in 15 minutes. 2 officers, both looking professional and serious. "Ma'am, you're the homeowner?" one asked me. "Yes. I have the deed and all documentation." They turned to Dorian. "Sir, do you have permission to be in this residence?" "She's my sister. We're family." "That's not what I asked. Do you have the homeowner's permission to be here?" "Well, no, but..." "Then you need to leave immediately. You're trespassing. Elara tried to argue. But we have keys. We're not trespassing. The officer shook his head. Having keys doesn't give you legal right to occupy someone else's property. You need to gather your belongings and leave now, or we'll have to escort you out formally. They packed up their things, glaring at me the whole time. The kids were crying now, real tears this time, confused about what was happening. As they left, Dorian turned to me. This isn't over. The officer stayed until they drove away. Before leaving, he gave me his card. Change your locks immediately, and if they come back, call us right away. I thanked him and closed the door. The next day, I had every lock in the house replaced. The harassment escalated after the police incident. My mother called my workplace. She asked for my boss directly and cried to him about how I'd abandoned my family. She told him I was unstable, that I needed help, that she was worried about my mental health. My boss called me into his office. Celine, your mother contacted me. Is everything okay at home? I explained the situation, the favoritism, the attempted break-in, the harassment. He listened, nodded, and told me to take whatever time I needed. He also said he'd block any further calls from my family. Elara went on social media again. This time she wrote a long post about how I'd called the police on innocent children. How I traumatized her babies. How I was a monster who cared more about possessions than family. People who didn't know the full story commented with anger. How could anyone call cops on kids? Family should come first. Some people are just heartless. Dorian started showing up at places he knew I'd be. The grocery store, the coffee shop near my office, even the gym. He'd corner me and demand that I change my mind. You owe us, he said once, blocking my car in the parking lot. Mom and Dad gave you everything, and this is how you repay them. They charged me rent at 18 while you lived free for years. They paid for your education while I worked 2 jobs. Get out of my way. Hired a lawyer. Her name was Rivka Soren, and she specialized in harassment cases. I showed her everything I documented. The screenshots, the call logs, the photos of my property after their visits, the police report from the break-in. This is textbook harassment, she said. I'll draft cease and desist letters for your parents and your brother. The letters went out the next week. Official legal documents demanding they stop all contact. No more calls, no more visits, no more social media posts about me. Meanwhile, I kept documenting every message, every post, every incident. I created a detailed chronology of everything that had happened since I bought the house. Then I made a decision. I wrote my own post on social media. I didn't name anyone specifically, but I stated the facts clearly. I wrote about buying a house for myself after years of saving. About family members expecting me to provide free housing. About the harassment campaign that followed when I refused. About people breaking into my home with copied keys. The response was immediate. Friends and colleagues commented with support. You have every right to your own home. That's insane behavior. Stay strong. Even some distant relatives reached out privately. Cousins I hadn't heard from in years apologized for believing my parents' version of events. We had no idea, one wrote. I'm sorry for judging you. A few weeks later, a letter arrived from Dorian and Elara's lawyer. They were threatening to sue me. The letter claimed I'd published personal information, committed defamation, and intentionally caused emotional distress. Called Rivka immediately. Don't worry, she said. They have no grounds. You didn't name anyone in your post. You stated facts that you can prove with documentation. And the emotional distress claim is laughable, given they're the ones who harassed and stalked you. This is just intimidation. She wrote a response explaining exactly why their case had no merit. She included copies of all my documentation showing their pattern of harassment. I never heard from their lawyer again. I considered filing a counterclaim. I had plenty of evidence. The break-in, the harassment, the stalking. Rivka said I could probably win, but I decided against it. I didn't want to spend more time and energy on them. I wanted to move on with my life. The cease and desist letters worked. The calls stopped. The messages stopped. The social media posts disappeared. Silence. Finally. Months passed. I focused on my house, my garden, my career. I replanted all the flowers Dorian's kids had destroyed. I set up a reading corner in the living room with a comfortable chair and good lighting. I made the house truly mine. My phone stayed silent. No family calls, no guilt trips, no demands. Just peace. I didn't miss them. That surprised me at first. I'd expected to feel sad, to miss having a family. But how could I miss people who'd only ever treated me as less than? Who saw me as a resource to exploit rather than a person to love? I thought about all those years. The discount store clothes while Dorian got gaming consoles. The rent I paid while he lived free. The instant noodles while they sent him care packages. The inexpensive restaurants celebrating my promotion while they talked about his achievements. They'd shown me exactly who I was to them, and it wasn't family. Now I sit in my reading corner, drinking coffee and looking out at my garden. The flowers I transplanted are thriving. Bright colors everywhere, healthy and strong. I know the story probably isn't over. People like my family don't give up easily. Maybe they'll try again someday. Maybe they'll find new ways to guilt me or demand things from me. But I'm ready now. I have documentation. Have a lawyer. I have boundaries that I won't let anyone cross. And I have something else. Self-respect. The knowledge that I deserve better than what they gave me.